UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Good evening and welcome to Behind the Headlines. My name is Timothy Nyangweso. Today we look at the presidential nominations that have just concluded this evening. 8 candidates to be exact, all the way from the president to Honorable Chagulanyi, and 2 that came in as surprises, the Common Man's Party, and lastly also we had the Revolution's People's Party that also got representation there. All of them gave their maiden speeches, varying from what they would do with the economy, social services, but also went as far as talking about the 40-year rule of the president. Those were their maiden speeches. Most of them, except FDC, had their manifestos launched. They will have their manifestos launched later on. A lot of questions lingered, especially on some of the processions or the rallies or post-campaigns or post-nominations that were happening thereafter. The NRM had its own, the National Unity Platform had its own, FDC had its own, but the biggest question of the day was what happened to the 20 that were still demonstrating at the offices of the Electoral Commission? That's the biggest question. But today we look at the presidential nominations. What do they mean for this country? How do they determine the future of this country? Is this country in a safe, free, fair, and credible electoral process? Let's get to the panel. The latest entrant into this, Professor Sarah Sari, now with a new designation, the Vice Deputy Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of academics at Makerere University, is with us this evening. Good evening, Professor, and congratulations.
Good evening, Timothy. Good evening, our viewers, and many thanks to all Ugandans and people in the world who have sent congratulatory messages to me on this occasion. Thank you.
A whole story was done about you, and I saw a few things there that we'll discuss later on.
Thanks a lot, New Vision.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Next
to Professor is the Honorable Mukasa Fred Mbide, the Vice President of the Democratic Party, but also the Yala Member of Parliament Emeritus, who is with us this evening. The Honorable Mbide, good evening. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Nyangweso. First of all, I equally congratulate the professor. That is extremely splendid. You are welcome to definitely now administer once again our Makerere University.
Next to the Honorable Mbide is Honorable Salam Musumba, who is the Speaker of the People's Front for Freedom, but also a member of, what is that team called, Honorable? The team of the elite of the PFF.
The eminent persons.
Member of the eminent persons committee. Good evening, Honorable, and it's good to have you.
Yes, thank you. Hello out there. It's been a great day, a great week. Congratulations, my dear sister. I am thrilled that we have a woman, finally, and that we can count on you. Thank you very much.
Lastly but not least, the Honorable Minister in charge of ICT and National Guidance, Cabinet Member representing the people of Kinkizi East, flag bearer of the National Resistance Movement for Kinkizi East. Good evening, Honorable Minister. And it's good to have you.
Good evening, Timothy. Good evening, fellow panelists and viewers. Happy to be here once again. Congratulations to the Professor. I have known her since those good old days. So I know she's fit for the job, and congratulations. And we shall give you all the support. Thank you.
We hope to be joined by the General Treasurer of the National Unity Platform Council, Benjamin Katana. He will be with us here to be able to digest more of what happened with the National Unity Platform. But let me read you the candidates for the presidency of this country. His Excellency the President himself, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, Honorable Nandala Mafabi, representing the Forum for Democratic Change, the Honorable General Mugisha Muntu, who will represent ANT, and we'll ask if PFF is part of this. Then Engineer Joseph Mabirizi, who will come with the Conservative Party. Those were the ones that have been confirmed. Kasibante Robert comes in with the National Peasants Party. Honorable Munyagwa Mubarak comes in with the Common Man's Party. And then we have Frank Kabinga, who also comes in with the Revolutionary People's Party. And finally, the Honorable Robert Sentamu Chagulanyi, who comes in as the flag bearer for NUP. Those are 8 aspirants, and last time we had 8 aspirants, that was 2016. 2021 we had 11, and this also, and I think that's a question I'll put to Honorable Salam Musumba and the Professor, we really have no lead in this one. So, get to our YouTube channel, let us know what you think. Also, we're streaming live on X, on our space there. Number to text us or WhatsApp us is 0709 60 25 92. Let us know what you think. We'll be reading your messages at the top of the hour. Let me get to some of the highlights that were mentioned by some of the candidates. The president yesterday stressed the ATMs and stressed how we need to come from a lower income to an upper income. Elton John Mabilizi really stressed federalism and what needs to be done to get this country there. Robert Kasibante emphasized that there is need to revolutionize agriculture and to focus on the peasants. Honorable Mafabi, building bridges and also the economy. General Muntu made a very profound statement that really resonated. He said, the absence of war does not mean peace. Peace is only found with justice. And that was where he based it. He said, people first, and that's where our focus needs to be. Honorable Chagulanyi talked about the struggle and explained the protest vote, what it looks like. Honorable Munyagwa talked about expelling foreigners who deal in retail. He also said he would nationalize health and education in this country. He would also ban Swahili and make sure that we have French. Finally, Frank Kabinga went on to talk about the federal system, what it would look like, but also since he was a teacher, education is one of his key focuses there. Let me come to the Honorable Minister. You had the first candidate. Cape Time was there within the nick of time. What did you make of the nominations, and what do you make of the electoral process that seems to come, that now leaves us with only campaigns and voting?
So thank you very much, Timothy. First of all, I congratulate all those who have gone through the nomination process, because they have made progress.
Yes.
They aspire to lead this country, and they have successfully been nominated. There are also those I saw crying foul, like the Honorable Sereko. I didn't pick exactly what the issue was, but I saw him somewhere on TV breathing fire, as if he failed to meet all the procedural requirements, but hopefully he will get justice. So I congratulate the candidates. I also congratulate the Electoral Commission upon this stage. And now, the next stage is that now we go into the field. Like we have said, President Yoweri Museveni was the first candidate to be nominated, and a very disciplined candidate who followed the regulations and the procedures as dictated by the Electoral Commission. No procession. He said bring only 2 vehicles. I think he was only accompanied by a bus which had the members of NRM. He would have chosen to flout the rules and maybe bring the whole of Kampala, but he chose not to. He was abiding to the guidance of the Electoral Commission. It's good that the candidates are airing out their manifestos, and we do hope that they will get the space to tell Ugandans what they stand for, and then Ugandans will be able to make a choice. As a Minister for Information, we shall ensure that you, the media, accord the space and the platforms to all the candidates so that they are able to articulate their manifestos, and the Ugandans are able to listen in to all these candidates for them to make a choice. As you have clearly said, NRM has a clear manifesto which we are going to launch on the 29th of this month, But in your opening remarks, you said some of the candidates were criticizing the 40 years of President Yoweri Museveni. Let me just make a comment on it. When you look at the history of this country, we spent close to 70 years under colonial rule, and we regained our independence in 1962, and we went through periods of turmoil. In 1986 is when the NRM captured power, and NRM has been in leadership. Those were 24 years after independence. In the 24 years, we had close to 10 presidents, and yet we had elections only once, in December 1980. The other preceding elections had been in April 1962, just shortly before independence, to prepare for independence. But from the day of independence to 1986, we held elections only once, December 1980, elections which were disputed, which forced President Yoweri Museveni and his colleagues to challenge the status quo by engaging in a war. But we had close to 10 presidents. So we're changing presidents the way we change our clothes. Now, I usually want to compare that period of 24 years and the time when President Yoweri Museveni has been the president. I am sure even those who oppose NRM appreciate that under President Yoweri Museveni's leadership, Uganda has transformed. So what does that mean to us? What it means is that the challenge and the problem of Uganda is not merely changing leaders, but getting a leader who is doing what Ugandans expect, or majority of Ugandans expect. And that explains why President Yoweri Museveni has been voted repeatedly. In 2005-06, we went multi-party, meaning competition now is amongst political parties and independent candidates. So each political party has its own internal mechanisms of producing a flag bearer. For us in NRM, we are not apologetic that we have kept bringing President Yoweri Museveni, because up to now we believe he's our top scorer. If you compare with football, if one team is playing with the other, it is up to the management of the other team to choose the players. If there is a player who is playing well, he's scoring, he's not tired, and he's doing well in the pitch, then the team, the coach and the management of that team can keep that player. Yet then for you who is a player or a manager of the other team, you also arrange your team and make sure the teams are in the pitch and you see who beats the other. So for us as NRM, we continue to bring President Yoweri Museveni, and that doesn't stop any other political party from fielding their best, their candidates. And then the final arbiter are the people of Uganda. So these candidates are going to subject themselves to the population. The different political parties will explain their manifestos as well as the independent candidates. And then come 2026, Ugandans will freely decide on whom should be their leader at the level of the president. That's democracy. So none of these candidates, they must sell themselves to Ugandans. Instead of saying, oh, President Yoweri Museveni has been there, he has been there because we vote for him. And we shall appeal to the Ugandans to vote for him again.
Honorable Minister,
Yes.
before I come back to you,
Yes.
Council Katana, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming, made in appearance here.
Yes.
I'll get to you in a bit.
Yes.
You said that, let's use the analogy of football you've said.
Yes.
If a team is leading 6-0,
Yes.
what's the need of keeping your best player there?
Oh, you think a team only wants to score 6, maybe want to score 10, 11 goals? Yeah.
So
You are saying the team
you have
is
already
leading.
scored 40, so really, now you want to score 100?
Why not?
Okay.
Why
And
not?
I'll come back to you on
Why
that one.
not? So you want us to lose now that because
No,
we've
no,
been
I'm,
there?
I'm saying why don't you rest the player
Yeah.
and be able to bring in a fresh player?
But if
so
the
that
player
this
is not
player can be
tired,
ready for the next match.
if the player, all those 6 goals have been scored by one player, and there is a likelihood of him scoring additional 4, why remove him?
We'll come back to that one.
Yes.
Council Katana, first and foremost, congratulations. You were on ground. I saw you personally there escorting the Honorable Chagulanyi. Congratulations on the National Unity Platform, but also on your candidate there. A very strong message that he put out there, braved the weather to be able to put out his message, partitioned it in 4 areas, talked about the people, talked about the protest vote, talked about the government. When you look at the electoral process that you have been subjected to, especially that the last 72 hours were vigorous in trying to find signatures, what do you make of it?
Thank you very much, and good evening to the viewers of this show and the colleagues that I have found here. My apologies for coming in late. Like he has mentioned, we have been up and about. And I walked in when Dr. Chris here was making a confession that in their team of running the rally, they have such a poor team that even when one of the runners is evidently very tired, there is nobody who can take it up from that person. But away from that, we have had what I would call a successful day. Of course, there have been challenges here and there. We were able to have our candidate nominated on the appointed hour. You have alluded to the processes leading to the nomination. We did comply with the requirements as set out in the law and as announced by the Electoral Commission. We collected signatures. The threshold is 98, I think. We had 130 districts. Of course, ordinarily and traditionally and legally, the standard has been that the process of verification involves agents of candidates and the Electoral Commission. This time around, there was a departure from the tradition, and the Electoral Commission decided to conduct that process in a manner that fell short of transparency. So we were shocked to learn, yet we had been in touch with the Electoral Commission, calling them to find out, because we wanted to pay the nomination fees. When a few hours to nominations, we were told that we were short of signatures in 18 districts. Of course, we went back to work and were able to collect signatures from over 30 districts in the short time. Evidence that we enjoy support, massive support across the country. Today we went for the nominations. Of course, the usual inappropriate behavior of the security forces was evident as we were leaving, when we were going, but especially when we were leaving. People who are walking home peacefully from the rally were roughed up and beaten. You wonder for whatever reason. But here we are. It's a journey that we know what it takes. It's a journey we have walked before. It's a journey we know is not going to be easy, because we know our opponent, we know his tactics, we know his over-reliance on the state infrastructure, which ordinarily should not be involved in partisan politics. We are not in this because we have a lot of faith that he has reached his Damascus point. But we are in this race well knowing that we have a higher duty and purpose to fight for what we believe is right, regardless of the hurdles and the challenges that we must encounter.
And Council, your candidate was very vehement, especially in the areas that you were speaking about. But my easiest question to you, especially just twofold, do you believe in elections as the National Unity Platform?
We do.
That's why you're participating in them.
Not only that as a sole reason, but we believe in elections. We are Democrats. And we believe that elections are the sanctioned mode of bringing office bearers into office.
He also mentioned that he expects the might of the military. He also explained what happened in 2021, elections there. If you know what is going to happen, why participate in a process that you already have a script of what is going to happen?
Yeah, you see, the starting point is that conviction and commitment are two tested tools that can break down any wall of intimidation and repression. But number two is that this is not the first country in the world where people who are in office have captured the state machinery and are using it to intimidate the citizens, evade accountability, and remain in office for a very long time. But in all cases of that nature, what has always helped the citizens to reclaim their country has been resilience. So we are in this knowing that all these hurdles are there, but we are committed because we know that we are on the right path, okay. We are on the right cause, and we are determined to overcome all those hurdles.
I'll come back to the question that I would like to put to you. Honorable Salam Musumba, the question of transparency of the Electoral Commission has been lingering for a long time. One of your long-time colleagues, the Honorable Ali Salaso, and I can quote her verbatively, said, why were we not called and told this is a wrong signature, this person does not have a voter's register? Did the Electoral Commission pass the litmus test of transparency, and what would it have done better?
No, it did not pass the litmus test, and it's not set up for that. Under the NRM government, that's not why Justice Byabakama is the chairman of the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission has been captured and is largely managed by ISO, SFC, and the entire military setup. Byabakama and others are just a front. The real workers are backstage. And so you'll be asking too much of an independent Electoral Commission. You'll be asking too much of even the guys that are seated on the table like puppets, when the intestines of it is largely a military exercise. They fell short one on the roadmap. You can comfortably now say they were road maps. There's not a single map. It's road maps. They adjust as and when they are commanded to. I was out in the village in Kamali when I heard that they had changed the nomination days for the parliamentary. And I thought to myself, look at these guys. Not again. So, they lack even the stability, the professionalism that you would expect a serving judge and the entire commission to do so. But anyway, that doesn't, that shouldn't surprise you, because even the way they were, their terms were renewed, 2 of them had been dropped and they were ordered back. So it's too much for us to ask them for transparency. In the present times, they are not able to. I also want to take you to the signatures. When we were registering the People's Front for Freedom, we experienced what the NUP and other parties have had to go through, that it became an exercise of the district internal security officer and other security apparatus to call and say, you have signed to belong to Besige's party. And this is the time when Dr. Besigye had just been arrested. So it's a replay of what has happened in registering parties and getting signatures verified. In setting the timetable for candidates to go, aspiring candidates to go for nomination, the program, NUP was told, no, you can't have it on the same day with the president. Too many crowds will happen. I mean, who are you? You mean this city is too small for candidates? This country is too small for people to operate in the same space? You would really see a sad caricature of a chairman, sounding so illogical. And the worst bit was the date of the certificate you got on 19th. I mean, it's just bogus. Him as a lawyer and as a judge, he knows that a document that is wrongly dated is a falsification. And really, you look at these guys, and they make my people of Bugabla, south of Namwendwa, such a beautiful group of people with their limited knowledge. When you see professionals, supposed professionals, doing all the unhealthy political maneuvers that they do. In the other area, I saw, they were trying to be busybodies, signing this, signing that, signing that, creating, busybodies, running up and down to show that they are at work. I mean, in the digital world, how can you take 30 minutes doing what you know? Reading the law. Who went to nomination without knowing the law? The worst bit, the childish bit of it, was handing over a car. Guys, a car, a pickup. Not even anything worth talking about, a pickup. That they make a ceremony for it, and the guy walks with all his gabardine, and walks to hand over a key. In 2025, guys, you let us down. You let us down, really. Listen, if you are, it is like in the modern world, it's like giving out a bicycle. And you make a whole hullabaloo about a bicycle that you are giving to escort. But it was also informative that you're now going to be guarded 24/7 by SFC. So the candidates are actually prisoners. I saw a prison, a mobile prison. And I thought to myself, if I was to contest, I would not accept that. I mean, you don't take me through the sewers for a car and all these black things, saluting as if, it is like you are watching Macbeth. Did you ever read this, Macbeth?
Honorable Salam.
I mean, for me, it lacked taste, it lacked style, it lacked time, Listen, we will not allow to be taken this garbage.
The MOU you have between ANT and PFF, we expected PFF to be able to come alongside. What detail did we miss in this MOU that really we didn't see your presence there?
Now we have been in very deep discussions with NUP, and we have an MOU with ANT, Alliance for National Transformation, and these are all active things. In the progress we made, because it is consultative. You must carry with you your membership, and you must follow through your procedures. And so we didn't have time for it to be able, the three of us, to agree. So we said, move. We will agree as we go. And so to ease the process, we chose that we would not provide a candidate. And we would leave in the political space two options to us. And it's a new political situation, I know, one that is not easily understood by ordinary souls. And so we have a duty to pursue what we are doing with our colleagues and continue to ease the possibility of having one candidate. Now, with ART, who we have an MOU already, we were not able to process yet to have a joint candidate. Because these are technical terms, joint candidate. And so the next step we are going into is to finalize what we would want for us to run as under one candidate,
Okay.
a joint candidate. And if that fails, we would have two.
Okay, thank you.
But that is a conversation for another time. Let's stick with a nomination. I want to congratulate you, the National Unity Platform, and the Alliance for National Transformation. Because a time came when I got so worried, and I'll come to it. Who decided who comes on to that ballot? Because I'll tell you that because the names are put in alphabet, there's one whose duty it is to deny Kyagulanyi to be number one on the ballot paper.
We'll come to that in a bit. You sound like this has been orchestrated as a script for that day. Honorable Mukasambide, first and foremost, you had a rally in Gulu.
Yes.
Proposed a presidential aspirant. Has DP...
We had a delegates conference in Mbarara.
You had a delegates conference in Mbarara. You did have a campaign in Gulu with posters put everywhere in Gulu. Your president general pronounced himself as a presidential aspirant. Has DP pulled out, or has the Honorable Mao pulled out? Who was pulled out of the presidential race?
Under the DP constitution, President General is the ultimate presidential candidate and actually becomes president when we take power. So clearly, any election of a party president is a prognostic of who shall actually be the presidential candidate. Any political rally in that regard, therefore, for intents and purposes, is intended to punctuate the possibility of arriving at a candidate. So that is the premise in which you would view him as the presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. However, we have consistently taken decisions. And the recent decision of the National Executive Committee of the party was to the extent that, one, we looked at our proposals for the required amendments if Uganda were to hold a serious presidential election within the meaning of free and fair. And we looked at the climate of laws of Uganda, the established institution for elections, which is the Electoral Commission of Uganda, and it discovered that it would be better if we concentrated on both parliamentary and local government capture than running for a position whose results are already predetermined.
Honorable, when was this decision made by NEC?
It was made just recently at Popopo. We had
So
a
this is
meeting
in the
that
last few days?
just the last few days, Friday, to be more succinct. So that is when we took that decision. We had even already returned the signatures, but we stopped the president from running. He was ready. He had already started hitting the ground until, of course, the members of the DP. I personally moved the motion. We debated it. from the morning of 9 a.m. to the morning of 3 a.m. And that is when we actually did our part to delink the party from a presidential election.
If you say the meeting was on Friday, his video came out on Monday and said NEC would make a decision. So, which is which?
Yeah, we definitely didn't hold our meeting during the period when he was addressing the media. So I have told you that the National Executive Committee sat and clearly stopped him from running for president.
Let's get to the question of the nominations. When you look at the 8 candidates, what quality of candidates do we have, in your view, if you have had any of their maiden speeches?
I have only listened to the speech of the president, the speech of the president of the National Unity Platform, the speech of General Muntu, and that one of Honorable Nandala Mafabi. I have not heard of the other speeches. I was unfortunately unable to obtain time for them. But the ones that I really listened to are those, and I consider them credible candidates to run if an election were to be held.
So we have quality and not quantity.
We have quality, certainly. You know, a country produces the microcosm of what it is to lead them. But a process produces, probably, depending on what it is, either the opposite in terms of results, or substantively what actually culminates into what was choreographed. What we are trying to do here, and I would like the population also to watch, this is just, you know, we are doing a post-mortem report for the whole general election. And today we have just covered the first page.
Of the post-mortem?
Yes. Because we know, we spoke about this before. It is a question of what comes first. Even the earlier debates that we used to hold in primary school, in terms of what did God create first, is it the chicken or the egg? I remember the kind of reasoning we used to give. Mine was, he created the chicken first. The justification being, he created the chicken in order to be able to hatch, to sit on its egg and hatch it, than God suffering the embarrassment of sitting on the egg himself. So, for me, that used to be the justification. So, the process that generally creates the Electoral Commission is that process that gives results, either credence or the contrary. However, I am looking at government enjoying, because they have achieved. They are holding an election, and we are participating, and clearly it will be a measurement as to whether or not the election has been free and fair. We know that in Africa, for example, last year, we had scheduled elections, 17 of them, but only 13 were held, 4 were postponed. That was the one of Mali, Burkina Faso, South Sudan, and Guinea-Bissau. Because the junta has postponed the elections. Here, we are holding the elections. And the participants are all and sundry. They are actually jumping and crisscrossing the length and width of the country, promising that they are likely to win. So for me, in terms of the international, the NRM is achieving. Because we are not resorting to the actual qualitative analysis of what we are heading for. We didn't get the time to do that. Now that we did not, the first page of the post-mortem report habitus, it foretells what will happen. The decision of the masses in terms of who should lead them so far has been injured by the decision of the Electoral Commission in terms of who must appear on the ballot paper. Because some people have been ejected. For me, the only person that I missed on the other paper was on the nomination record was Hakena. Why was he, for example, ejected? I know that the ruling system would be interested in making sure that, of course, the Lango vote does not skedaddle from the laid out path who they should vote for.
Honorable,
yes.
we were both here with the Honorable Jimmy Akena. And you remember that Section 13 of their constitution says that the president can only be for 2 terms, 2015 and 2020. And the Electoral Commission used their very constitution to put Joseph Ochieng away, Honorable Jimmy Akena, and also ENAP.
So since when did the Electoral Commission ever do such things?
We are both lawyers.
When we had those issues,
we are both lawyers.
The Electoral Commission did nothing.
As the FDC.
And Honorable Salam, because he's now delving into the law, we are both lawyers. The constitution of a political party, even when you run to court, is a mere annexure. It is not a law. The substantive legal provision is Section 10 of the Political Parties and Organizations Act. And it is succinct on what must happen. The decision of members is sacrosanct. Not that document you call the Constitution.
The party
so
constitution.
Once the members have taken a decision, irrespective of whether there is a constitution, that is why, for example, people have been saying NUP cannot nominate. I was laughing at them because they don't know the law. Once the members have taken a decision, that's it. So Electoral Commission did not have
the court injunction that had been slapped on Jimmy Akena not to have the delegates conference?
If we don't hold a delegates conference, then the status quo is maintained. What is the status quo? He remains the president. So for me, I don't accept. You know, when a status quo means if there is no election, my colleague is also there, Benjamin. If there is no election held, then the status quo remains and it nominates.
Honorable Mbide, lastly, you have been here and in that very seat, and you say the results of the 2026 elections have already been determined.
Of course.
Are you still standing by that word, and why?
Now it is even getting to substantive confirmation. Reason being one of the candidates participated by way of 90% in choreographing a process leading to announcement of who the winner is. Now, the President of the Republic of Uganda, as he appoints all the other institutions of government, appointed the Electoral Commission, either directly or indirectly. Now, there is all evidence that he doesn't want to leave. So clearly, if he has appointed any institution, the directives are clear, directly or indirectly, in terms of achievables. So you have all seen for yourselves. Honorable Salam has been explaining it, and this is very clear, that even the ballot paper itself has now been choreographed. There is, in proper English, you would call it the arabesque and the rococo. they have choreographed it in such a way that he must appear at the bottom.
Yes. Even if a Z came,
yes.
if Ziwa came,
he would not have, never be the signatures would not be enough. So, and I have seen
is there any other name which should have been the last
if
among the 8 candidates?
If you bring Z,
like they would not nominate.
The 8 nominated. What about the 8 nominated candidates?
They can't.
Is there one who has been disadvantaged?
Yes.
Who should have been the last?
No. Who? There is a Robert whose signatures have been delivered merely because they want to
have him number one
in terms of whether
Chagulanyi is number one or number two.
So there is a problem, and I am telling you, this is
Chagulanyi is number one.
Number two.
He is now number two.
Is now number
Instead
two.
Of becoming number one. They can photocopy signatures until they are.
That's what Abed Bwanika used to be with Besigye.
So I am telling you, the time we amend our laws, we will definitely have the best elections. Where, to the extent that, for example, if you go to Mozambique, you see that Parliament arrives at an electoral commission. If you go to South Africa, why would the ANC be humbled? It is one of the 6 elections where, because of the 13 elections held in Africa, 5 of them the opposition took power. The 6th election, ANC was humbled. It would not form government unless it worked with the opposition. Now, because the Electoral Commission is not appointed by a runner in an election, that after dealing with the task force, then he deals with the Electoral Commission, then he deals with this. So he has been made too busy that, in my opinion, it does not even make sense whether he's campaigning or not. That is why the biggest opposition party is actually only protesting. Because that is clearly what is left of the electoral narrative itself. Yes. So for us as DP, we have resolved, let us do the parliamentary capture, because we have intents and purposes to have the constitution, the laws and the constitution amended, definitely to make sure that Uganda, in posterity, will arrive at the best elections possible.
Thank you. Professor, let me come to you. When you look, we have 8. The last time we had 8 was 2016. No lady. The gender question, why isn't it answered in this election?
Yeah, thank you, Timothy, and thank you, our viewers. That's a very interesting issue, considering that Uganda has been championing gender equality, or at least the NRM regime has been championing gender equality since as far back as 1988. So the fact that there is no women competitor is an issue of concern, but it is not one that cannot be explained. I think it all goes back to probably the cost of elections, the competition therein. It's very, very competitive. But also, of course, for a long time, women have been focusing on being district women representatives. And at that level, there are so many concerns. Probably many of them have gotten used to the fact that that's where they would be more effective. So actually, when you look at the competition among women candidates, the competition is really stiff. The political performances are at a very high level. They perform just as well as men in terms of articulating what their manifestos are. But why they have not gone for the presidential level, I really don't know. It's a matter that we can study better. I think the last time we had a female presidential candidate was Mrs. Miriobote. I think she did run as that. But I think over time, the elections...
We had Nancy
Oh, yes,
Kalembe.
yeah, the last one we had Nancy Kalembe.
Even in this one, Nancy Kalembe was back.
Yeah, she promised to come back.
And there's another lady too.
Yes.
Mpambala.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. So they've been there, but probably they didn't garner so many votes. But also largely we are in a patriarchal society, which does not expect a lot from a woman as at presidential level. Because we have seen even by research done by people like Honorable Peace Mutuzo, that even at the district level, they are only willing to vote for women in the women's slots. But when she tracked possibility and readiness to vote for a woman on the mainstream ticket, she could not even register 11% of that, because the society has been wired to think that the women's track is the women's track, the women MP, so you shouldn't step out of that. Of course, there are some women who step and go for mainstream and do very well, okay? Like the young lady, Honorable Lenia, she went on the mainstream, Lenia Charity from Vura County. She went on the mainstream and I think defeated 7 men in the primaries. We are looking forward to see how she will perform. So that is that. But I think it's coming from both how society views women politicians, but also how women politicians expect to perform at that high level. But of course, as we are missing the women, we are also going to miss Mr. John Katumba. Katumba Oye. I think he did last time very well and did his race to the end. I expected him to come back. Of course, he came back, but I think he had challenges with his paperwork, so he has not made it.
Actually, 20 candidates stayed demonstrating at the Electoral Commission.
Yes, they found a better.
But Professor, my last question before we take a break. When you look at the environment,
Yes.
from 2011, 2016, 2021, the violence, or as the National Unity Platform likes to call it, the militarization of politics has heightened. How do you see the environment playing out? Can it be an even playing field?
I think it will be an even playing field, because we have always been on this topic whether the violence has heightened. You know, as I said before, that time is the time when, for some reason, the country gets very agitated as they are determining who the winner will be. And it's not, by the way, just at national level. Even at the smallest level of the councillors, of the districts, there's a lot of competition. And sometimes this competition requires the presence or the policing of those who are interested with policing peace in this country. So they cannot look on when there is a threatening situation. And because they cannot look on, sometimes they are forced to intervene. And that is what actually we call violence and militarization. But we also need to look, if it wasn't an electoral process, how would competition go in this country? We have seen it at, I come from a university, the guild presidential elections have to be heavily policed. Entertainment galas have to be heavily policed. Any small event where it gathers people, there has to be policing. And they are not policing because just people want to police, but because these situations have the potential to turn violent at some time. So it's not just the militarization of the politics. I think maybe it's just the militarization of our society that we have reached at that stage whereby if we are not well policed, we end up with a problem. So the people who are mandated to keep law and order have to do their work, okay? It will be irresponsible of them not to do their work because it's an electoral process, when actually they have always done their work and intervened in non-electoral processes where the peace is threatened.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Let me read some feedback that has come through. The 24 years from independence to 1986 were marred by political chaos. 40 years after, we have been, and still counting, have witnessed the fundamental change. No doubt about that. Moses from SETA. Okay, thank you, Moses. Good evening, Timothy. The nomination clearly shows the beginning of injustice. Seems to be that the nominated is decided by the ruling party, based on the fact that many who were claimed that did not fulfill the needful. Sincerely speaking, we are seeing everything. No one should lie that someone did not meet the requirements. Okay, I think the Honorable Minister will respond to that one. Mr. Alwasa Ronald, straight from Rakai, says, thank you for the show. Behind the headlines, Ugandans nevertheless, whom we support, but we would like to see all candidates have the same right to campaign, but the indicators have already shown that it will never be in this country. Okay? This is a gentleman watching from Zambia. He's called, he doesn't leave a name. He says, the Honorable Chagulanyi, is he standing as a presidential candidate? Yes, he is standing as a presidential candidate. Engineer Charles from Ngabo in Buyende district, sorry. Send my greetings to Honorable Salam Musumba. Honorable Salam Musumba has had.
Thank you.
Then someone else sends through a message and it says, this is Honorable Emmanuel from Jinja City. I congratulate all presidential candidates who have gone through the nominations. Okay, thank you for that. And someone questions the violence. Elections in Uganda is just time wastage because no one can win the presidency through elections. The Electoral Commission of Uganda is not prepared to have a genuine election, but rather to protect the president and his family in power. I'm James from Kanungu. Honorable, it seems you people don't agree with some of the things you're saying. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get back to the nomination in the studio.
No. Why? Why would I? I don't do those.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com. Or call 0800 335555.
Quick commercial break here on Behind the Headlines. My name is Timothy Nyangweso. In the studio, I'm joined by Professor Sarah Sari, Honorable Fred Mukasambide, the Honorable Salam Musumba, Council Benjamin Katana, and the Honorable Minister Dr. Bariumsi. And we're discussing everything nominations and beyond. A message that comes through for Council Katana, it says, thank you, Timothy, for the show. Congratulations to the professor. Well-deserved promotion. My comment goes to Mr. Katana. If he and the National Unity Platform are Democrats who believe in elections as sanctioned practice of democracy, I hope they will not protest the results in a few months' time. Unless they are saying the process is not credible, then why would they participate? This is Simpson Mwezi, okay? I hope, Council, you can get that question there. One more before we get there. Good evening, this is Isaac from Loro Town Council in Oyam. I congratulate the presidential candidates upon their successful nomination. We pray that there is a leveled ground during campaigns, but we remind the minister our children are at home. Okay, I don't know what your children are doing at home. Oh, okay.
The government answered it yesterday, but I can repeat for him.
Which government? You mean at Kololo at nomination?
Yes,
Oh.
the Minister of Education and Sports.
Can you imagine?
Yes.
So distorted.
I know.
That was a different fora. You say that's why
Yeah,
you get
but the
confused.
Government was campaigning.
There was no government in Kololo.
We have not resigned as ministers.
No,
We are
but that
still
wasn't the
serving.
place.
There
You
is
see,
a-
we will not
there is
take
a
in every
fusion.
trash.
There is no state, no ruling party. They are
Come
one
on.
and the same.
No, we're there as the government ministers, for your information.
Honorable
So,
Minister,
yes.
let's jump straight
can do
into
better.
I even saw Steve Osava
two
at the
elements
entrance.
that I would
Yeah.
like us to discuss.
Yes.
What was that at Kololo? And are you proud of what you saw?
Absolutely. Kororo was the post-nomination rally for the NRM presidential candidate, Yoweri Museveni.
Honorable Minister, please
And
forgive me for
the-
interjecting.
Yes.
Food distributed, people putting food in T-shirts, a bus, a truck of alcohol, drink until you drop. Explain that post-nomination ride.
Well, I didn't see people carrying food. I don't know.
Those
Maybe.
pictures can even be shown right here, sir.
I am not disputing, but I'm saying personally I didn't see that one. But
They didn't serve food in VIP tent. That's why you didn't see it.
no. There was food there, but I came a little bit later. I didn't go for the lunch. But I think candidates arranged for post-nomination assemblies or rallies. In this case, President Yoweri Museveni and NRM organized that rally in Kororo, where NRM leaders and supporters gathered to celebrate the nomination. Nothing wrong in my view. And I think the other candidates are also doing the same. And the party chose to feed the members who came. Whether the members were eating a double or 2 plates or 3 plates, I think that's it was
Children
a celebration.
from schools, Honorable Minister,
Because the
were
party-
dressed in T-shirts.
But you know, that's
come
the
again?
next generation of
Come
the
again?
corrupt.
Children
Properly
that came
seated.
from that were supposed to be in school were dressed in T-shirts. And the question, Honorable Minister, were these state resources, NRM resources, and how do you tell the difference?
Well, you tell the difference by what I'm telling you.
Okay.
That first of all, the children, I don't know, the president arrived at 3 p.m., so the function was largely cut after 4. I don't know. Well, first of all, it was an open function. Anybody who wished to join, there was no restriction, would come. So if there are school children who were coming from school and passed by, maybe they were not stopped, but children were not invited. Because largely it were the NRM leaders, the members of the district executive committees of the districts in Uganda who were invited to come and be there, and the other senior NRM leaders and the other supporters and well-wishers. We did not invite children below 18 years, but if there are children who came, they just came on their own, maybe coming from school. I'm sure you didn't see them in the party uniform.
The people in yellow T-shirts, Honorable Minister.
Can you show us?
You show it.
Really, I hope my producer can be able to give me some pictures.
They were changing from their school uniforms to the yellow
Yeah, but
T-shirts.
also even the children of Uganda love NRM. Definitely. And for a national function, if
It
children
was
came,
a school day. Come on.
if children came, we don't chase them. There was no harm. There was no harm in children attending if at all they came, because it was just an open function. Unless if you're saying NRM went and removed the children from classrooms and brought them, that would be an issue. But if they passed by and attended, I don't see any big problem with that one. Where do the resources come from? From the NRM party. If you want to ask me where does NRM get the money from, I can also tell you. But one, political parties that have representation in the parliament are funded by the government of Uganda, by the state. And the formula used to share the resources is the numerical strength in the parliament. And you know NRM has the biggest proportion in the parliament. So we get, I can say, a lion's share of that envelope which comes from the state. So we have resources. Secondly, we contribute money as leaders in NRM to run the party, and we also do fundraising. So the party is not necessarily poor. It can afford a function like that one. So it's not money from the government budget directly, but maybe through that vote where we fund political parties. Even the NUP gets that money. Even the FDC gets that money. Even the DP gets that money because they are represented in the parliament.
Honorable Minister, let's reflect on this picture. Ugandans that have come to...
Where is the picture?
I'm painting the picture for you.
Yes.
The post-nomination with Ugandans eating food and celebrating, and drinking and celebrating. When you look at that picture, what does it tell you about the state of our country?
Well, first of all, when your candidate has been successfully nominated as a party, I hope you are not saying we should hold a funeral service because a candidate has been nominated. It's a positive function. People are happy that our candidate has made the first step. He has successfully been nominated so that he can reward the campaign. That's why...
Let me put it straight.
So those are the nominations.
Has the NRM weaponized poverty?
No, you're asking unrelated questions. You're asking
because
why.
People really, the joy of people just eating and drinking showed the state of our nation, that a gentleman got food and put it in 3 different green buveras and was being interviewed, and he said, I have food for the next 3 days. and this is not something I'm alleging, it's something that can be seen.
That is the representation of a Ugandan society. We have all the strata, the population gathered there. They are the elites, like you and I, but we also got people from the countryside. And definitely all of us understand Ugandans. There are those from the rural environments. Maybe some of them, it's their first time in Kampala, they are excited. I wouldn't have a big issue with the people if the food is in plenty and people want to eat what is enough for them. Why would you have any issue with that one? Why would you have, honestly? we didn't invite the professors and the MPs and ministers from Kampala Road. We also invited people from the countryside.
People have transformed
And,
Uganda.
Yes, they are transformed.
And there is nothing wrong for them enjoying.
People from
enjoying.
have no food.
Yeah,
No,
come
food
again.
insecurity is a
Come again.
serious
People
matter.
whom they have transformed.
Honorable Minister,
The
my last question
It
is,
was good
In
food,
the last 40
maybe
years.
prepared differently from what is prepared in the rural homes.
But you
I
see,
wouldn't-
we come from rural places. Are you saying that the rural has no food, has no
No,
not good
there is
food?
an issue of no food and better food and so forth. But really, to me, it's not a big issue.
okay,
It's not a big issue. You just go in the countryside when there are these weddings and feasts and see how people can munch food and get excited with food.
when you
You are just urban dwellers who probably don't interact with people in the countryside.
that
You
is
don't know
up for
what you are
discussion,
saying,
but depending
really.
on where I travel.
Yes.
Honorable Minister, when you talk about protecting the gains,
So,
Those ones.
quantitatively, what do you mean?
quantitatively or qualitatively? What are you saying?
Quantitative leap into the
Qualitative leap into.
So what do you mean by protecting
Yes,
the
let
gains?
me first clarify again on the issue of food. I hope you didn't expect NRM, because you
We
said remember
left the
that
food. We understood
as
you.
if you expected NRM not to feed the delegates.
No,
There was
the idea,
we,
Honorable Minister,
we fed the delegates.
the idea of the questioning
Yes.
was embedded in the possibility that this NRM supporter was now only sure of food for the next 3 days, pursuant to what he had got there.
No, some of them had traveled from deep up country, Karamoja, West Nile, Kisoro, those areas. And you know, some of them come in the bus the whole night. Maybe they didn't eat overnight.
please.
Overnight. So, I am sure.
You know, that is called the truth hyperbole.
No. I'm sure if they complained of starvation, you would be quarreling with me. But I am happy that you are quarreling that they had a lot of food and it was
The
plenty.
food was plenty.
Now let me come to the other question. Protecting the gains.
The gains.
Certain-
What gains are these you're protecting? And do they need protecting?
Yes. Let me draw back to how I started, that Uganda went through that period of the post-independence turmoil, and then NRM came with the 10-point program, which was expanded to 15, but we usually condense it into 4 ideological pillars. We touch on patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, and democracy. I said earlier on that we had close to 10 presidents. I'm even saying close because at one point we even had 3 people making a president or a presidency, meaning things had really gone so low. And that's why NRM believes in democracy. And in this case, we have these periodic free and fair elections where whoever wants to occupy a political office must do so through the will of the people. And that's why for us we celebrate yesterday and today's events that we are able to successfully nominate candidates at the level of presidency. So NRM, or to be specific, President Yoweri Museveni has been in leadership for now close to 40 years. And NRM, if you want to speak in the strict sense of it, as a political party, since we returned to multi-party democracy in 2006. And there are lots of achievements which have been registered in Uganda. I am sure all of us acknowledge that the Uganda of today is not the same Uganda that we had 30, 40 years ago. Even if you don't believe in NRM, I'm sure you can see the transformation which has taken place in Uganda. Whether you look at it in terms of peace and stability in the country, whether you look at it from the democratic culture that we have set up, the constitutional framework, which gives us this kind of democracy where we can participate and Ugandans vote the leaders they want, whether you look at it from the aspect of the socio-economic transformation service delivery, all these programs which government has put in place, ranging from infrastructure, education, healthcare, wealth creation, and all, water and sanitation, all these issues.
Okay.
And from a technical standpoint, we measure, we have what we call quality of life indices, which clearly show whether the quality of life of the population is improving or is worsening or is stagnant. And clearly the studies, we have a professor here from Makerere, the studies which have been carried out by UBOS, by international actors, clearly show that the quality of life indicators have greatly improved. Whether you talk about poverty levels, whether you speak about mortality rates for children, for under 5, for mothers, whether you talk about access to education, access to health care, all these issues, the figures are there for anybody to read. Okay. They have greatly improved over the years. So we are saying we need to protect these gains, which are enormous and various, and also continue working hard to improve the quality of life of Ugandans. Because unless if you were to say NRM has not achieved anything, we can say even the blind can see what has been done. Even okay. Those who don't have hearing sense can hear what has been done. So we are saying, in our view as NRM, that a lot has been achieved, and we must protect these achievements which have been registered and move forward as we continue to take Uganda to prosperity. That's basically what our manifesto is talking about.
Councillor Benjamin, listening to the Honorable Chagulanyi's maiden speech after being nominated as a candidate, very emphatic about the 4 areas, especially explaining the protest vote, explaining the 40 years, and also explaining why people need to get behind the protest vote. Elucidate more on what this protest vote is all about and how, in such a terrain, it's supposed to be achieved.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, the traditional nomenclature for the office that the came from a rural school largely patronized by children of peasants called Chamate. At that time, he was able to go to an elite school called Ntare School. Today, children of his background and social status from Chamate School cannot go to Ntare School.
Are you sure?
They can't.
You can go and check the statistics, because when they do admissions, they put this one is from this school, this one is from this school. And my point is that this progress that you're talking about, is it inclusive? Is it comprehensive? Or it is only for those that have access to business opportunities, access to jobs, on account of association with the ruling party? And I think that is a very important point for the country to appreciate. So the protest vote that we are talking about is largely to say that we are calling upon the people of Uganda, those who have gone to hospital and failed to get medicine and found the doctor not on duty on account of poor supervision, have not found medicine on account of corruption, those whose children are not accessing quality education because the teachers are not in class, now they're on strike. The teachers are not in class because they are poorly paid. Even the schools are not in good state. They do not have appropriate laboratories. They do not have an appropriate curriculum to enable them to get skills that will enable them to compete globally. That Ugandans whose children and relatives are rotting in jail without being subjected to the due process of the law because of the inefficiency of the state machinery. That Ugandans who have lost their relatives in road accidents because of a weak state that is not enforcing traffic rules, because of poor roads, that traders whose businesses have been crippled by extractive tax regime and extortion from the officers of the state, that Ugandans who have voted and their votes have been stolen, literally, that Ugandans whose children have been beaten on account of choosing a side to support, that they must come out and protest against all those evils and others by voting against the NRM. And that voting against the NRM is not sufficient, that they must also mobilize others who have been victims of the repressive and unjust government, who have been denied opportunities because there is no equal opportunity in the country. That a child from Chana Mukaka and a child from Kololo, our point is that they should have equal opportunity at life. They should both receive quality education, regardless of their parents' status in society, regardless of their parents' income, that they, even when they go to school and finish, they should have equal opportunity to get jobs on account of their qualifications and merit, not on account of who their relatives or friends are. So we are saying that all those Ugandans should mobilize each other and protest against the NRM establishment by voting it out of power. That number two. And the Honorable Mbide here mentioned that the election is predetermined. And you know that is the perspective. When you're faced with a challenge, people choose to encounter the challenge differently. And it also tallies with the question, I think, which was asked by someone called Simpson. Yes. So there are those who will say, the person who has invaded my land and is erecting a hut is too powerful. The only thing I should do is to commit suicide. There are those who will say, let me shift and run away. But there are those who will say, even when the odds are against me, I will stay here and fight to the last drop.
It's like the women, when you go to childbirth.
Yes.
All the time you say, never again.
Exactly.
Because you could die, you could, I mean, the pains and what. But you still go ahead. There will be no next generation if we didn't dare.
Our perspective of those challenges and hurdles. You know, I don't know who has read The Art of War.
I have read it.
If you know, those hurdles are part of what we know about our enemy. Zanzo advises that you must know yourself, but also must know your enemy. So we know that the strength of our enemy are all those challenges, including the perception that this is a predetermined election. Including, so I haven't finished explaining the protest vote. The other aspect of the protest vote, when all these people that are choosing a bright future have come up in big numbers to vote, unlike before, they should not stop at voting. They should be able to challenge whoever tries to tamper with their votes. And they should not wait for Honorable Salam, who is in Kampala, to tell the people of Soroti, the people of Kamui, the people of Bushenyi, that this is what you should do and at what time. There and then, they should stand up firmly and challenge the returning officer, the DISO, the RDC, and whoever it is that is trying to interfere with the electoral process. Because we know for a fact that some of the officially appointed agents will be picked. But our approach in this election is to make every voter an agent at the polling station.
Okay. My last question to you. There's, even in his maiden speech, the emphasis was on the president being the biggest problem. But also the problems you have mentioned, education, health, and all these things. Which one should come before the other?
You see, Timothy, there's what we call leadership.
Because my assumption is, if NUP come January 12th gets power, then what?
The problem will have been sort of 80%, in a sense that the load of inefficiency, the person who has appointed incompetent people, the person who has encouraged inefficiency and corruption
And
mediocrity has been removed from office, and that will go with the mediocrity, with the inefficiency, with nepotism, and all that comes with that. And then we shall go to work to make sure.
420,000 jobs of public servants. Are you saying those will be swept?
No, you
away?
don't even need to chase them. You need to reorient them. You need to reorient them, retool them, and set standards for them. Those who cannot shape up will shape out on their own. They don't need to be retrenched. If you cannot keep up with it, you see, countries are transformed through leadership. We always talk about the case of Singapore. In 1962, when Uganda got independence, it was at the same level of underdevelopment as Singapore. In the 1970s, when Idi Amin was the president here, the one that has been demonized a lot by the NRM candidate, Museveni, he was even giving donations to the United Arab Emirates. But today, United Arab Emirates is a marvel. And Qatar, and I know you're going to tell me about oil, but there's also oil in Nigeria. There's oil in South Sudan. Are they at the same level as Dubai, as UAE? But leadership. So for us, we have had a leader for the last 40 years who has only excelled in building a personal empire and failed completely in transforming the lives of people. That's why you have children who are studying under the trees.
Thank you. Let me bring in
Did you study under the tree yourself?
Honorable Salam, before
Me
I left you,
Murangira.
you were insinuating a script
Yes.
of how this process should be. Elaborate on what.
Is,
Elaborate on that script and how does it end?
look, 2 months of a presidential campaign, as you know, is insufficient. Who said that?
3 months. October, November, December, half January.
It can't be half January. If you have 500 constituencies and you'd like to contact each of them, how much time do you need for a day? You need 500 days. Okay, if you do 2 per day,
You need
you need
250.
250 days. And 160 days is actually 6 months, just to unpack it for you. So there's no time, and that is part of the plot. Don't allow time. Now this is going to be also a very controlled election. That's where you have yours truly of DP, also Minister, that this is going to be quiet, silent.
His prophecy has already failed.
You know? That you are, this is a lab, you know? This is going to be a laboratory, a political laboratory where people will be told you walk straight to the polling station, you walk straight home. And which republic? Not even under COVID did that happen. And we already tested that today, watching the way National Unity Platform was guided with the blockades, you know. I've never seen such efficiency of the police. Blockading, you know. You would think this is their father's estate, that they were defending from the young people that they've given birth to. Then you have the outcome of the signatures and verification. In any polity, you would expect that there's a conversation between the election manager and the stakeholders, and that they would be told that this is insufficient. it is arising out of this. That too is plotted to control who. It's not difficult to get 100 people to sign for you anywhere in any district. But they've added a bit to keep themselves busy to call people and find out. And people who have never got calls from any organization, they would think it's a police issue. So that too was meant to fail. And really the effort, the target was a National Unity Platform and ANT, because Electoral Commission had programmed itself also for us, but we didn't show up as PFF.
About FDC, your former party. As
PFF, we didn't show up. And so that changed the permutations and programming. The names, you see, the order paper or the ballot paper. The ballot paper, I don't know who decided that they would use the alphabetical order of the name. And
they have always done that.
Nobody knows. Because we need a law. Listen to me. We need a law about name. To know which is your first name and which is your surname. And which comes first. Because that standardizes the name. You can't be Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Museveni, Rutebohabura, but all those are different people. Look at the way you order the names. And that's why we have so much confusion. Nobody knows whether Yoweri is a Christian name or a first name or a surname, you know? And so that in itself is a manipulation. The other day it was Tibaharura. Today it is Yoweri. Who is this person? So that too is an area of manipulation, which is part of the plot. The other one is, I think it was predetermined that there will be no independent. So there's no independent candidate in this. Why? I mean, you cannot be so meticulous at making sure that independents are closed out. And of course, the biggest target here was Muhammad Nsereko. Or was it?
He had the party.
Okay, he had a party.
Ecological party.
Then you have, that they will determine the value of each contestant. What is their value? There's this man with the K name. His value is to deny Chagulanyi, #1 on the ballot paper.
Are you talking about Kasibante?
Yes, it's Kasibante.
So was he baptized today, Kasibante?
The one who's
no, they have to look for
the one whose party president was performing at the NRM function.
Performing at an NRM. There's total confusion. And then you will have a man with a hat. And the others, the demand is that the ears must be seen in the picture, you know. So, but I'm going to use a hat too, so that we can then tell.
You know, sorry for the interruption. You know, the NRM is running the country on a model like of apartheid. There are rules that apply to some groups and rules that apply to some groups. So that one of the hat and ears clearly depicts the...
Did anybody put on a hat and it was denied?
Yes.
I'm going to test it. So we also have even the choice of the day of nomination. The day of nomination, the dates of nomination. They work backwards to give advantage, because you see, looks like the NRM candidate is too tired. I really saw a man who was too tired yesterday. But it's understandable, because they've been having activities back to back, from NEC, from SEC, from PDM, now to this. He's really tired. And so everybody must be tired We are running a campaign of a tired candidate.
Tired because he's working hard for Ugandans.
Very tired, very exhausted. You just look at him and you see exhaustion. He forgot the date. Did you see? He's in 1900.
How do you see the campaigns play out?
1925.
Pardon?
How do you see the campaigns play out for these 8 candidates?
You see, these 8 candidates, they are all prisoners of 16 SFC, all round surveillance. Okay? Who gives the orders? Is it the candidate who will give the orders of the security? The answer is no. We have, from our experience with Dr. Besigye, he had to throw them out. And poor guys, when they got back, they were arrested. They were arrested, and some of them lost their jobs. You meet them on the streets and they say, you remember me? I was the one who was. So you are looking at a plot that is comprehensive, that is properly nourished by the Electoral Commission.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mbide, let me make it twofold. Do elections give us legitimacy? And secondly, is there any legality on incumbency versus a candidate?
Of course, legality is.
Because I was on ground yesterday, and being the president, he came with his manpower. SFC took over. When he left, City took over. Today, City took over. Is there a law that manages incumbency versus the candidate, but also are elections just a process for legitimacy?
In Uganda, of course, incumbency is usually fused with the candidature if the incumbent is running. Part of it, of course, is the inconsistency with which government runs its affairs. The law would have been clear. For example, the law is succinct on the fact that you cannot create a political party using identifying symbols or name where the state has a proprietary interest. Now, the National Resistance Movement is a movement which is now in abeyance under the Constitution of Uganda. When the population chose to go multi-party. But there is an organization that is using its name.
Which one?
NRM. Ideally, under the law, it would never have been registered. That is why in the beginning they added O.
NRM is different from the
now,
movement system.
By chicanery, they removed it along the way. So they had added O in order to run away from the processes we had engineered of going to court. So I can tell you that there is a big problem. There are things I would like to, first of all, let me correct the impression created by my brother that of the example of somebody erecting a hut in your own land and you choose to commit suicide. Now, that is not exactly in reference to what the DP is doing. Rather, we have taken a contrary strategy. We believe that we begin from where it should have begun. Re-establishment of the best law in order to reach the end safely. Other colleagues can believe in the end justifies the means, but for us we say the means must be pure in order to reach the end safely. Now that is the contradiction. So, but we are all working on the same platform. Number two, the Honourable Minister speaks about consolidating the gains. It is okay. Now that raises two questions. One, what are the gains? Two, is the strategy for consolidating such gains embedded in maintaining the same leader? Because you see, we must now assess the circumstances. The gain is unknown. When you look at, of course, the Human Development Index, Uganda is next to Kenya. That includes education, it includes the health and standard of living. Uganda is next to Kenya. As to whether the continuity of the same leader leads to the same gains being either consolidated. Now that is the strategy we need to look at. Now it has been punctuated by major stuff that even my brother and Honorable Salam have been speaking about. The first one being the neo-patrimonialism, where now the leader uses or helps himself to state resources in order to obtain loyalty from the public. Now that one now creates a different factor and combination in society. We spoke about the idea where the president even took steps to himself assess the performance of what he referred to as PDM. A report of that nature would be subjected to whose scrutiny? If the assessment is conducted by the president. Where is he going to take that report? Number two, how does he arrive at the sampling procedure? So you find that he is only using state resources in order to obtain loyalty from the masses. Now, continuing to maintain him at that rate, is it consolidating the gains? Are we increasing allocations on health, allocations on education, allocations on anything? When maintenance of the same system now continuously begins to demand that budgets should be increasingly allocated in areas of security, around the president, state house. Number two, the economy itself now has been, it is now a hochi-pochi. We no longer know now what proper entrepreneurs are. The persons we know now are tenderpreneurs.
Yeah.
These are persons with the same umbilical cord linking to the state. The former technocrats are now tumbocrats, where tumbo refers to their own stomach. Yes. So, maintenance of the same system at the helm.
Remember,
is it a strategy of consolidating the gains?
Remember, DP has an agreement with NRM.
Yes, and our agreement is very clear. and me, I agree. Because our agreement is
Dr. Chris using that one as an example of tumbocrat.
no, but I would like us to agree that our
They are part of the tumbocracy.
No, it is intended to cure, because it generates, one of the provisions is under that agreement is transition. So clearly at the subconscious level of the brains of the framers of the agreement included the requirement for transition. Because you see, the gains can be seen, but when you have a president that benchmarked success of 2025 to 1986, then there is a problem. Why would you make benchmark economic success of 2025 to your own success or to the status of affairs of 1986? Benchmark from the neighborhoods. Instead of talking about road connectivity, let us talk about road quality index. What is the quality of the roads? Because 2025 is really 40 years. 40 years, one would have stopped talking about the 3 C's and 3 T's. We wouldn't have, in fact, the debate on colonialism was concluded. There is a consensus. We were colonized. It shouldn't be a current debate. Yes.
Even slave trade.
Even slave trade, really. That debate was concluded. There is a consensus. Going forward, we should have explained what did we do with our slaves. Now that we took to independence and we have had a very good leader that has sustained a stable government for 40 years. The results would show. My brother Katana has been explaining, he has given examples, and by the way, you have to take clear scrutiny of the examples. UAE, Qatar, very productive, no elections. Oil. Nigeria, elections. Oil. It is chaotic. But where you have run a government for 40 years, the results would have indicated, because clearly you have been the same leader. In fact, now nobody is in government that never went to government when the president of the Republic of Uganda was the current president.
Okay, thank you, Honorable.
Yes,
But
everybody has come in under his leadership.
Total.
There is no one he formed
Even
there
the
now.
ghettos
Yes.
have been formed and constructed.
In fact,
Born and
Yes.
bred.
And now he's celebrating the ghettos.
Yes,
the other
ghetto
time
is
One of the gains there.
born and
One of the
bred.
gains
you
they are
remember
celebrating.
the other time he walked in Ruero, and the average population didn't even know why he was going there, because for them they don't even remember there was a war. These are young people. Because if you, all those are 40 years, and they were saying, why is he coming here?
He went to Busoga and was shocked by the level of poverty. He even complained.
He wondered, how do you people
But
live?
now he's saying there has been
Consolidating the gains.
transformation.
Is the strategy
And that we must
keeping him
support
around
that, the gains
or transition?
of
I
sugar cane.
hope-
That is what should have been the debate.
But you also said the transition is in rooms that very few people are there, and the elections are going to be silent. We'll come to that.
No, that one.
But
no,
Timothy,
because
before you even leave that point, there has been a dispute on the contents, particularly the one of transition. One of the parties, who is the NRM candidate now, Museveni, has said on public record that transition did not form part of the conversation. The DP colleagues,
this is what he said.
the DP colleagues have maintained.
He said there was no discussion on
Transition.
transition, which is correct. There has actually been no discussion of the document itself. And for me, that is why I was agitating.
So is there a document?
So he
There
signed,
is, it is there.
he signed
So
something
he
that
signed,
was never.
He signed the basis for dialogue, but dialogue has not yet taken place. So clearly, and the dialogue included the transition.
Negotiated for jobs,
Please allow me to come to Professor Sarah Sali. Professor, one of the things that stirs up this population is languaging and messaging. And when you listen to the maiden speeches that were there, especially the connotation was 40 years, overstaying power, that was there. But also there were good things that were said. General Mugisha Muntu said, the absence of war does not mean, peace does not mean the absence of war. And said the presence of justice means peace. And that was, he was emphatic on that. Also, the Honorable Nandarama Fabi said we'll build the bridges, seemingly like we extending an olive
I
branch.
hope they are rivers.
Honorable Minister, when you see the languaging of these political actors, the presidential, how should it be to bring this country together that when you see it, seems to be fractured on religion, tribe? How do we bring it back together in this season with languaging and messaging?
Thank you very much. I think actually everyone who talked is trying to do that. But I think they're coming to it from a different perspective. From those speeches and what you are raising as the problem of language, messaging, and olive branch and bridges and all that, it actually is a testament that there's a fracture somewhere, or there's a fear that things will break up further. And that's why the discussion of, actually that's what makes the discussion of colonialism important. No one is saying colonialism never occurred. And no one is debating, or there is no, contestation about the fact that colonialism occurred. But I think there is a contestation of the effects of colonialism. And of course, when you have the president talk about colonialism, it's about, I think he's referring to the deep-seated effects of colonialism, which we have not actually recovered from. And that's why in the academy today, people are so concerned about talking about not neocolonialism, but decolonization. Because there's an understanding, and this is a movement which really came from South Africa and the UK, the Cecil Rhodes scholars, the whole understanding that, or the whole argument that while the white man left, his ways, his standardization, his value system never left. So some of the things we see today and are bothered about, tribalism, religion, and all of that, could it be an extension of this? And if it if it's an extension of colonialism, then how do we decolonize and build coherent states without that? And of course, then the opposition who are raising the issue of 40 years, their question is, actually, this is what you should have worked on, okay? 40 years later, we should no longer be thinking about ourselves in terms of tribe, in terms of religion. So the issue is, who do we blame, okay? But the fact that there is this fracturing, it is actually there. And of course, it has its roots in the fact that we were found separate, then we were put together, and even when we were put together, the balkanization never stopped because the colonialists used divide and rule. So your tribe and your religion as the criteria for which you were defined and the criteria for which you were, a decision was made whether you belong to the state, whether you benefit or do not benefit, has its roots in colonialism. The challenge is, how do we break it? Have we continued propagating it as a way of getting by, either as leaders or as citizens who are trying to secure opportunities? So that is for all of us to reflect. And of course, when people talk about those things, they are talking about mainly a lot has to do with economic opportunities. I've had here the debates about jobs, but regardless of who is in power, if you look at the Uganda's labor market survey, the issue of jobs is going to continue being a problem. We have 75% a population which is under 30, and 50% actually of the entire population is under age 17. So they will come up, and they actually, with gains in employment, in health, which are some of the gains that have to be protected. The gains in health in terms of immunization, reduction of infant mortality and the rest, people are going to survive longer. And when they survive longer, then they are going to seek opportunities. But we have also been told that while we graduate around 16,000 students per year, we actually are creating only 700 jobs per year. And these 700 jobs are largely in the private sector, where some of the rules of equal opportunity and inclusivity may not necessarily apply. So the more people chase for opportunities which don't exist, the more people then begin profiling and reprofiling themselves. Did I get because I don't have, or did I get because I am this tribe, or I am this religion, or I am that? So then this tends to heighten what actually we should be getting away from as the colonial codification of a people. We actually entrench it more. Then you want to look for who is your own in such a place, and if you reach there and you speak your language, will it amplify your opportunities of getting there? And of course, then when you come to a space like now, the season we are in of politics, people then want to use that as a strategy of either continuity. Of course, if those who have been benefited think the process should continue and should be safeguarded, those who have not benefited think probably if there's a change we will benefit. But the truth of the matter is, beyond the politics, the economics has to be fixed. And I think that is very, very important. So going back to what you're saying, are we seeing a disconnect or whatever? Yeah, there's that disconnect. And that's why now the whole issue, for some, securing the nation becomes a very important thing. Peace and security becomes important because of the ability to break up. You know, we have talked about Singapore and the rest vis-a-vis Nigeria. Singapore is a very small city-state, where when the Lee Kuan Yew comes to power, of course, he finds Chinese, he finds Indians, he finds Malaysians, and there are very few people in a city-state. And of course, he makes so many drastic rules on housing, on everything, and things fall in line. The same model of Singapore cannot work in India, which is just very close, although they are all Asians. And then transplant it to Nigeria, different tribes, different religions, different cultural habits, different. So the fusing is yet to occur. So I think whoever is going to take us forward needs to work on fusing that. And maybe, one, the security has to be guaranteed, the economics has to be fixed to improve the opportunities. I think people should not just lie to people that when they come in, the opportunities will come. And I know each time we talk about jobs and opportunities and sale and who is appointed, we try to look at the top. For me, as a researcher, I've been very interested at looking at what happens in districts where it is actually supposed to be the same category of people. These vices are worse there when it comes to either selling of jobs, grabbing land. It is worse at the district level where people are supposed to be actually same tribe, and same cultural behavior and feeling for one another. So I think there are all these things which we have to look at in balance. The politics is good, the rhetoric is good, but for people on the ground, I think we may have to think beyond the politics to see what exactly needs to be fixed. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me read some feedback before I give parting shots. Hi, Timothy. The NRM has no new ideas at all. They are hangover and forcing the old man to recycle old, outdated ideas. We need young people with ideas. I could prophesy that the manifesto coming on Monday will not be any different from the manifestos they've said before. They're wasting state resources to keep the regime in power at the expense of developing the country. Even at household level, it is time you allow the children to run their families and not just their fathers. It's saddened to see greed, incompetence combined. The peace that Dr. Chris is bragging about, they were the ones that went to the bush and brought it as guerrillas, as conflict resolution mechanisms. They began the war, ended it. Now they have begun it, who will end it? Okay. Thomas from Kampala there gives verdict. Congratulations to the nominated candidates. Let them continue maintaining peace, unity, and exercise transformative leadership in the political ambitions. Integrity of accountability, transparency, and should be key to the bright future of Ugandans. This is James Tumwine in Chankwanzi, okay? Good evening. When I made my observation about Professor Sarah a few months ago, you did not find it prudent to read out the reservations, but clearly her quality of debate depicts that she has the class to be able to be what she is right now. Andrew from Kisoro.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Good evening. This is Roy from Arua. Unfortunately, the so-called top scorers that the minister is talking about are also have wasteful chances. They can take 10 chances to score 1 goal, but refusing to substitute them is painful when the neighboring countries are playing Uganda. Unfortunately, poverty is on the neck and expanding. Who puts the interests first? Whose interests do we put first? The country or the people that are there? Okay? Finally, good evening. By far and large, opposition parties in Uganda are not aiming at winning elections, but rather gaining from elections. In the elections, the opposition is fighting the opposition, and worst of all, their pride is also their failure. It is putting the ruling party at an advantage. I think this one says, ask the Honorable Minister, which people stole the cows in Teso? When is the time for the Teso people to receive their cows? The battalions, the people that stole the cows were the military, and the Karamanjongs were not even using cars to transport these cows. Until this question is addressed, we shall pretend that we have elections. I'm Opolot Michael from Palisa. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I will give each of you 2 minutes for parting shots. I'll start with Professor, Honorable Mbide, Honorable Salam, Council Benjamin, and lastly, the Honorable Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Timothy. I know we are talking about the election and what happens after the election, after the nomination, what happens about the campaign. I'm looking forward to an interesting campaign where every aspiring candidate will have an opportunity to articulate their goals for this country. But in so doing, I think as a citizen, I would like to pray and hope that we're actually going to have campaign speeches that relate or that are honest and relate to the needs of the people. I know we tend to see the problem of this country as the problem at the top, but from my few years of observation, I think the biggest threat to this country is the army of younger people with no job opportunities. Wow. The army of younger people with no hope. And I think for me, what I would love to hear most is what are we going to do with these people? Part of the problem, of course, when you look at the different analyses done on this country and the systematic diagnostics about our younger people, is that as a country we've had jobless growth, in that we have had a lot of growth, but the jobs are not being reflected in that growth. The other second thing is that we've had urbanization without industrialization. Because in many societies, when they're undergoing the transition people move from agriculture into industry, and that becomes the microcosm for the formation of urban areas. We have had urban areas growing, people coming from the rural to the urban, and there's nothing for them to do. So whoever is going to campaign and have a manifesto to us, those are some of the things I would love to see. What are we going to do? How are we going to fix the economics? It's not just about going and who should go and who should stay. The question is, can we have all those 8 candidates give us what their manifestos are? Because the threat to this country's future and peace is largely the army of younger people with no opportunities and with no jobs.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mbite.
Yes. I wish Uganda the best elections. I would like also to tell government, I heard in the speech of the president what he referred to as ideology and strategy versus what he referred to as biology and jobology. Now, jobology meaning, of course, having reference to jobs, and biology having reference to gender. Of course, it begins to appear as if he's backtracking on being the protagonist for gender promotion, gender equity. Now, there is nothing we shall expect from government except jobs when you have promised to industrialize. But at the same time, we need a wage, labor, and immigration policy to the extent that jobs created in Uganda are not taken by relatives of foreign direct investors. Because there is a creation of jobs that we can talk about, but where the Chinese is the managing director, his relative is the general manager, the sister is the cashier, and all that the Ugandan can be able to do is to be the one carrying the bales of what has been produced in order to be loaded onto the lorry. But even the person counting the bales is Chinese. So there is going to be a problem of job creation where actually Uganda has economically become an extension of China or the foreign direct investing country. So we need to take stock of the actualization of employment for Ugandans.
Thank you very
and
much.
that is something that I would like for the next government to focus on.
The Honorable Salam Musumba.
I would expect a thorough discussion of where we are at, because it's the only window of opportunity we have to voice and choose the trajectory of our lives. So in whichever space we are, whatever restrictions we have, let's be loud. Guys, be loud and be heard. If nobody else hears you, hear yourself and make the difference we must make for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council Benjamin.
Thank you very much. Starting from Professor and then the Honorable Mbile, they are talking about the crisis of unemployment. The government is the key, or the state and subsequently the government, the key creator of jobs, not through public service, but through creation of an enabling environment that will enable, if Honorable Salam wants to start a factory for making water, there should be a conducive environment where she will not be required to pay bribes, where she will get her licenses in one day, so that instead of the money that is wasted on bribing people and oiling the system, she employs more people. It has a multiplier effect. We must also create an environment that is predictable, and because today, even if in confidence you spoke to ministers or army generals, none of them is sure of what will happen to Uganda after Museveni. Now, if the Ugandans who are serving in this government are not confident of what will happen in this country, how do you expect a meaningful investor? You are talking about direct foreign investment. It is guided because they do risk assessment. That's why you're going to end up with people who are looking for money from the government of Uganda. They want to start a factory in Uganda, but they want money from the government of Uganda. So if you are going to attract meaningful investors, in addition to all these things we are talking about, predictable tax regimes, no extortion and corruption, seamless processes, you must also work on the question of the predictability of the future of the country, which is missing. But lastly, as we go into these elections, the Greeks, from whom the modern civilization is largely acquired, categorized the people and society in 3 categories. One is the idiot, and not idiots not used to insult people, but to define a category of people who don't care about anything. They will eat bananas and throw the peelings on the road, throw bottles out of their cars. When they say there is voting, they say not having quarter. When they say there is vaccination, they are not interested. When they are given offices, they indulge in corruption. When they are involved in these elections, they are only concerned about themselves. Now, those are the idiots. The second category are the tribesmen. You can add tribeswomen. These ones are only bothered by identity. Their commitment, their empathy, their interest is restricted to identity, not necessarily ethnic. It can be in terms of faith and creed. For him, if he belongs to this faith, that's all that matters. Their worldview is reduced to their identity. The third category is the citizen. The citizen is interested in common good, is interested in making a contribution to society. When there is voting, they actively participate. They will not wait for voting to take place and they say these people are just wasting time. So I would like to encourage the people of Uganda as we go into these elections, the politicians, the voters, to choose to be citizens and play their role, bearing in mind, knowing that the decisions they are going to make today have an impact on their future, on the future of their children and grandchildren.
Thank you. Lastly, the Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to hear my colleagues from the opposition that their submissions cannot be complete unless they bring in NRM. So NRM is the party of the future. And in this campaign, we are not going to focus on the bad-mouthing the opponents. We are going to explain to Ugandans the gains which we have registered over the years. We tell you how life expectancy has increased to 68 years. We tell you how infant mortality has reduced 27 births per 1,000 live births, how maternal mortality ratio has dropped to 189, how subsistence livelihood has dropped to 33%, and many others. And also tell you the challenges we face, like the issue of the youth bulge, the demographic burden, and how we are going to confront the issue of job creation and addressing many other issues. That will be our focus, so that Ugandans vote for us on the basis of what we are going to offer to the people of Uganda, not merely just shouting at each other. Number two, we call for discipline amongst all the candidates, their agents, and their supporters. I think Honorable Norbert Mao is being misquoted or misunderstood. My understanding of him was saying we should have a calm election. Let's condemn violence. Let the candidates be enabled to reach out to Ugandans and they give their message. And then Ugandans are able to make a choice and vote their candidates without fighting. So we would want to appeal to the candidates especially and to remind them that being a presidential candidate does not make you be above the law. They must conform to the law of the land so that we have peaceful campaigns, peaceful elections, so that Ugandans are not disturbed at all. The question of the transition the constitution is very clear on how Uganda will transition. I know the worry is that why is NRM bringing President Yoweri Museveni? Why don't you bring your best and your best defeats him? Because the purpose of this democratic process that each party brings their best and then they go in the field and then the Ugandans decide. There will be a time, of course, when probably NRM will not bring President Yoweri Museveni, and we shall pick from the very men of us who are in NRM, and there will be continuity. So that should not worry you. You bring your best candidate and let Ugandans make their choice.
Okay.
For us as NRM, we shall make sure that we market our candidate, we market our manifesto, so that it remains the best among all these manifestos. And therefore, when we defeat you, next year don't start crying foul. So say, oh, this electoral commission is not fair. You have agreed to go into the field. Let's play by the rules. And then the electoral commission should not be bashed. They have done their best. If they say bring signatures to this magnitude, now if you fail to get the signatures, why should you blame the electoral commission? You should blame yourself as a candidate that you failed to mobilize the required number. How can you say NRM has organized these candidites? Are you saying NRM has organized
The other day you were raising similar complaints about the electoral commission of NRM.
so these brave games should stop. The candidates from the various parties, you go out and articulate your manifestos. Tell Ugandans why you are offering yourself and what are you going to do for Ugandans.
Honourable Minister, my request would be your addresser. This period from now to January
Yes.
is the only period
Yes.
within which Ugandans have power. The idea of the constitution that all power belongs to the people is only exercised between now and January. No other time.
No,
the
that's
rest
not
is
true.
exercised by those delegated by these people.
Okay. You can
So
see
if
that.
you tamper with this process, that constitution doesn't hold water.
Okay.
No, that's why
So
we're
really,
calling them
okay,
to,
that is our
to
problem.
come
Gentlemen,
and vote. Vote
Gentlemen,
for NRM.
That
please
is our
allow-
problem.
Professor, the question for gender came from Professor Ndebesa, and he was directing it to you. But please allow me read one from Agago. The NRM has been in power for 40 years, but sometimes I shed tears when I see some patients being ridden on wheelbarrows to go to hospitals. Okay? The last one is thank you, Timothy.
Well,
My
that-
NUP brother has said that NRM has improved the lives of those who are close to the minister. We are here, even not able to afford school fees. Our parents call themselves teachers and cannot afford school fees for two of us. So what have they improved? You people are just there celebrating nominations, but our futures are in ruins because teachers are not going to class, continuing to laugh and to cause what we know your children are studying abroad and their lives are improving. NRM has done it for just them. God of the poor will definitely punish these people.
But we're calling me
There is only one God. The God of the poor is the same God of the rich.
I want to say thank you to the gentlemen and ladies for coming through.
Thank you.
The production team for making today possible and endeavoring. And for anyone that sent in a message, thank you so much. We're not able to read all of them, but we will leave with this quote. Trust is built in drops, but lost in buckets. Good morning.
ino intaneti ewenyukanga ekizungirizi ate kamera yayo lumamyo banange ebyandaka ku buggo guno mugano gwennyini funa kabodi supakati ku nsimbi ezisaliddwako ng'otandika kusinyisa emitwalo 49 zokka usasule mpola mpola sinsi 833 buli lunaku weewangulira omugano gwa kabodi supa okuva ku MTN weefunire GB 2 eza data wa MTN buli mwezi okumala emyezi 8 weegemulire kabodi supa katikati okuva ku dduuka lya MTN wonna mu ggwanga. Everywhere you go, MTN ekolera wansi w'amateeka ga UCC.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here. In the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's what you feel in the gentle caress of tropical wind from the mountaintops. And the glow in your heart from a warm neighborly invite. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking to the taste of food that takes you on a journey. In the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Steadfast Mujahideen stationed in the Gaza Strip as they defend the entire nation with unparalleled sacrifices.
The IDF, for its part, said its anti-aircraft systems failed to intercept the projectile. Citing scripture from the Hebrew Bible, Israel's defense minister vowed the attack would be avenged sevenfold.
Wishing a full recovery to those injured in the drone strike in Eilat. The Houthi terrorists refuse to learn from Iran, Lebanon, and Gaza, and will learn the hard way. Those who harm Israel will be harmed sevenfold.
Well, a drone launched from Yemen crashed in the center of Eilat early on Wednesday, turning Israel's southern resort city into a scene of chaos and panic, sparking a large-scale emergency operation on the ground. According to Israel's rescue service, 22 people were injured, and 2 of them are currently in serious condition. A 60-year-old man with severe shrapnel wounds to his limbs and a 26-year-old man with shrapnel lodged in his chest. 20 others suffered lighter wounds and were treated for cuts, bruises and shock. Those injured were immediately taken to a local hospital while paramedics established a casualty collection point right next to the site of the blast. Israel's emergency service doctor who was on the scene said the moment the alert of an incoming drone was received, teams moved into protected areas under home front command instructions, and minutes later came reports of the impact near a hotel in the busy city center. And the operation began with rescuers, doctors, firefighters and border police forces involved. And as far as we know, till now, Eilat's main streets remain sealed. Traffic is diverted and police forces are still scanning the area to rule out any secondary devices. What makes this incident more troubling is that it is not isolated. Far from that, it is the second drone strike on Eilat in just 1 week. Only days ago, another drone exploded near the entrance to a hotel, injuring civilians and sparking a fire. For years, Eilat was considered beyond the reach of Yemen's Houthis, but the Gaza war has shifted the geography of risk dramatically. Now, even Israel's southernmost city, known for tourism and beaches, finds itself on the front line. In the last 2 years of conflict, the Houthis, an Iran-backed movement that controls much of northern Yemen, have repeatedly fired drones and missiles at Israeli cities, not only Eilat, but Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and at shipping in the Red Sea in response to Israeli military operation in the Gaza Strip. In retaliation, Israel has carried out airstrikes, numerous airstrikes deep in Yemen, including on the capital of the country and on the Red Sea port of Hodeidah, targeting what it says our facilities used to assemble and launch drones and weapons that the country uses against Israel. Those strikes, however, have not stopped the launches. Wednesday's attack in Eilat shows that the Houthis remain able and capable and willing to strike Israel directly. Here in Israel, the reaction is already sharp. Opposition leader Avigdor Lieberman, never one to mince words, declared that Israel cannot wait for the next launch from Yemen and must act systematically to destroy Houthi infrastructure.
We must not wait for the Houthis to launch missiles. We must act consistently to destroy all their infrastructure, all power plants, naval docks, airstrips, and control towers. All of these are used to manufacture missiles and drones, to assemble weapons and launch them at Israeli citizens.
And there is a wider backdrop. The United States earlier this year brokered an arrangement with the Houthis in Yemen that reduced attacks on American and allied shipping in the Red Sea. But that deal never included Israel. This recent strike highlights the gap. Washington has calmed threats to its own vessels, but Israel continues to face drones and missiles launched from Yemen with no sign of a truce. And Eilat, a city better known for scuba diving and family vacations, has become the latest symbol of how this war stretches far beyond Gaza and Lebanon. And all this comes at a moment when global criticism and condemnation of Israel's military actions in the region is only intensifying and mounting. Far from bringing restraint, attacks like this one on Eilat are more likely to be seized upon by Israel's leadership as justification for yet further escalation, for more attacks probably on Yemen, this time widening a war that has already spread across borders and shows little sign of slowing down.
Iran says it's infiltrated the Israeli nuclear program and revealed photos from inside those facilities. According to the Iranian intelligence minister, operatives were able to obtain several sensitive documents.
This very small section turns a page on the regime's and its supporters' history of opacity and will end the regime's policy of nuclear ambiguity. The recovered treasure trove contained precise information regarding sensitive military and scientific locations with dual-use applications. This small portion of the disclosed information reveals the cooperation between the American regime and some European countries with the criminal Zionist regime. Furthermore, documents detail the official influence of regime officials and American senators on the agency and on obtaining information related to our country's peaceful nuclear program. Two motivations prevailed for Israeli citizens and officials to cooperate with Iran. One was material, namely receiving money, and the other was intense hatred for the regime's corrupt, criminal prime minister in order to take revenge against him.
The Iranian state TV in a program has shown that the Iranian intelligence ministry has revealed part of the sensitive documents and data and information with regard to Israel's military and nuclear sites and programs, as well as nuclear scientists and their locations, actually. Well, according to the Iranian intelligence ministry, well, these documents, sensitive documents, had been obtained by the intelligence forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran a couple of months ago and had been transferred out of Israel in a covert operation and successfully. In June, the first time the Iranian intelligence ministry announced and also promised that Iran would release part of sensitive documents and data information about Israel's nuclear projects, as well as military sites and their nuclear scientists. And this took place tonight as part of a program aired on Iranian state TV. According to the Iranian intelligence ministry, this treasure trove contains millions of pages of documents, also videos, images, and footages, and addresses and exact locations of nuclear sites, locations, as well as nuclear scientists of Israel who are involved in nuclear weapons program of Israel. Well, according to the intelligence ministry of the Islamic Republic of Iran, the documents include previous and ongoing weapons program projects of Israel. Also, they cover projects to upgrade and reprocess old nuclear weapons program of Israel. Also, these millions of pages of documents also detailed projects with the United States as well as some European countries, and they also cover complete information about administrative structure and those who are involved in the nuclear weapons program of Israel. According to the Iranian intelligence ministry, such revelations and the uncovered documents and data will definitely end years of Israel's policy of nuclear opacity and ambiguity. According to the intelligence ministry of the Islamic Republic of Iran, also the documents have successfully identified 109 nuclear and military scientists of Israel. So their locations and identity